This is the Harold Robinson analysis, where history, economics, and power collide. The systems that shape your life didn't appear overnight. They were built, challenged, and rebuilt, and we're breaking them down. Every week, right here.
What is a federal government? When people say the federal government, they mean the national government created by the U.S. Constitution, which is a written charter that sets up three separate branches with distinct powers, and it divides authority between the nation and the states. It has only the powers that the U.S. Constitution grants, and it operates through laws, officials, agencies, and courts established under that framework. Here's the foundation. The United States is a constitutional federal republic. Constitution means a written higher law, the U.S. Constitution, and it binds both officials and citizens. Federal means power that is shared between a national government of limited, enumerated powers and the 50 states. And republic means the people govern indirectly by choosing representatives to exercise public power. The Constitution also guarantees every state a republican form of government. At the founding, a republic was understood as a government deriving its powers directly or indirectly from the people, administered by officials who serve for a term or during good behavior, and are constrained by law. Popular belief often says America is a democracy. The accurate shorthand is the United States practices representative democracy within a constitutional republic. Majorities matter, but they act through institutions and under a higher law that limits government to its delegated powers and protects individual rights. What we are not a pure democracy where citizens vote on national laws directly. The founding fathers intentionally chose representation to cure the problems of pure democracies, which were instability and the dangers of faction, especially across a large republic. The United States is not a monarchy, it's not a parliamentary system, and it's not majority rule at all costs. After the United States gained independence, the United States first tried to govern itself under what was called the Articles of Confederation, which lasted from 1781 to 1789. That system created a loose union with a single chamber Congress, no independent executive or judiciary, and no direct federal power to tax or regulate individuals. It struggled to raise revenue, enforce national decisions, and respond to crisis, problems that helped catalyze the 1787 Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. The framers proposed a new constitution in 1787. In the ratification debates, supporters and critics argued through essays like the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers. The Constitution was ratified in 1788 and it took effect in 1789. The Bill of Rights followed in 1791. The new plan blended federal and national features. It preserved state roles while creating an energetic national government with enumerated powers and a structure that was designed to check itself. So if you take a look at this graphic right here, you can see where power flows from we the people, and it flows down to the U.S. Constitution, where power then flows to our three branches of government. The first branch is the legislative branch, which is Congress. That's your House of Representatives and your Senate. Article 1 vests all legislative powers in Congress. Congress writes federal statutes, controls appropriations, declares war, and provides oversight. The executive branch, that's the president and departments. Article 2 vests executive power and the president is tasked with enforcing federal law, leading executive departments and agencies, conducting foreign relations, and serving as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The Senate provides advice and consent on many top appointments and treaties. The judicial branch was established by Article 3, and it established the Supreme Court, and it also permits Congress to create lower federal courts. The judiciary interprets the law, applies it in cases, and can set aside laws or executive acts that violate the U.S. Constitution. It's a function rooted in the Constitution's structure and early practice of judicial review. Our federal government is made up of a system of checks and balances. The three branches share and restrain power. The president can veto bills, Congress can override vetoes and confirm judges, courts can invalidate unconstitutional laws, and impeachment remains a legislative remedy for serious abuses. The federal government is one of enumerated powers. Congress's powers are listed in Article 1 and Section 8 and carried into effect by the necessary and proper clause. States retain broad policy powers and maintain their own constitutions, legislators, executives, and judiciaries. When federal and state laws conflict, the Constitution settles the hierarchy. Article 6, known as the Supremacy Clause, declares that the U.S. Constitution itself, federal laws are made in pursuance of it, and treaties are the supreme law of the land. So I say again, the U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and it's binding on state judges. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. In practice, this means valid federal law can displace conflicting state law, a doctrine often called preemption. Courts apply this principle case by case, look into the text and purpose of federal law. At the time of the American founding, Britain's constitutional order rested on parliamentary sovereignty. Parliament could legislate without a higher written text controlling it, and the executive and legislative powers were institutionally fused with a hereditary monarch. The United States, however, took a different path: popular sovereignty, a written constitution with higher law status, enumerated national powers, separated branches, and judicially enforceable limits, including the Supremacy Clause binding state actors to federal law that is made in pursuance of the U.S. Constitution. So in the United States, you see all power constitutionally comes from we the people, and it differs fundamentally from the United Kingdom's government structure, where the UK Parliament has sovereignty. Understanding the federal government structure, its three branches, the division of authority within the states, and the supremacy of the Constitution, that explains how American law is made, applied, and kept within U.S. constitutional bounds. Those features were deliberate design choices, forged from experience under the Articles of Confederation, and in contrast to the parliamentary supremacy in Britain. In my next video, I'm going to explore Congress's enumerated powers and how courts decide whether federal law validly preempts conflicting state law. Subscribe for the full series on the Constitution in practice. I'll be releasing these far more regularly. You don't want to miss them.